before it was finally delivered. Hello and welcome to another Retro Crazy Mini Byte. I'm going to start off today by saying this is not a normal video that I do. I am doing for the first time, or trying to do for the first time, an actual review, so bear with me because I probably won't get this right. But hey, it's all a trial and error game in this for me. So we're going to be looking at the SVI CAS, and I have to point out this is not a paid video. This is not a paid promotion. I paid my own money to purchase this. I did not get a discount. I wasn't given any kickback or anything at all. This is all off of my own back. So I first saw this on Noel's Retro Lab before tracking it down myself. A swift email in March 2022 had me on the pre-order list before it was finally delivered to me in November 2022. So why has it taken me so long to actually do a video about this? Well, I did have a number of other projects, then holidays and family issues, and finally I forgot. Yep, I did. Or at least I had until Noel did an update video showing that this was now capable of working with a Texas Instruments 994A. So a quick email off to find out that I had to return it, as it's not Arduino based, so it's no easy home update, I'm afraid. And off it went. Well, it's back, and time for me to right that wrong. I bought mine complete with both the Commodore and the Atari cables, as was recommended to me by Duncan, the designer, because there are 3 cables. However, if you buy all 3 with this, it does push the weight above a certain limit and the shipping price jumps considerably. So that's what I did. I paid 120 Australian dollars, about £69 at the time, and that got me the hardware you see here, and then £27 for postage. I have checked recently and the exchange rate has dropped, so it's about £85 all in for shipping and delivery, or about 103 US dollars, 97 euros. What I can tell you is that Duncan is a pleasure to deal with and will email you the current manual when you place the order. Now, I've taken the liberty of having the manual printed, and then I bound it so that I've actually got a solid physical copy of it here. And this is version 8.5, which was done the 16th of July 2023. So what is it? Well, like both the TZXduino and the Tapduino, it is a digital cassette based image playback system. It's not cartridge based, so it's not like, for example, the Pi 15410, which is Commodore 64 based and is cartridge. And with the large number of options that have been added, it's really important to read the manual to get a feel for not only what it can do, but what all the different buttons on screen do. And while the manual lists a large number of systems it's designed to work with specifically, this really isn't the end of the story. It's so configurable, there are so many other systems you can get it to work with, it's up to you to find what its limitations are really. So why would you want one? For me, part of the whole retro vibe is loading images like you would. The downside with that is tape-based loading is a nightmare. Anybody that's done it knows that your playback volumes, different tapes, different tape decks can all affect just how well something loads, and there's nothing worse than spending 5 minutes waiting for something to load for it to kick out with an error. However, look at the number of different systems I've covered, and these are all mine. So what this does is it does away for the need for you know, one of these for a Spectrum, or one of these for a Commodore 64, or you know, another one for an Amstrad or the Acorn or whatever. Instead, this leaves one device to cover them all. Ooh, my precious. Sorry. Now, before you all go rushing out to buy one, let me advise there will be a delay in getting one. The designer is a one-man team and he does everything in-house. It takes him a full day to build one of these from scratch. So if you want one, there will be a delay before it arrives, depending on his current demand. Oh, and did I also mention he was based in Australia? So let's have a look at the device itself. On top here, we have a nice colour TFT touchscreen. On this end, we have a CF flash slot, which will take micro SD through an adapter or whatever, up to about 32 gig. And on the opposite side, we have power, remote, and then ear and mic sockets. It also is supplied with a stylus, and it does kind of look suspiciously like a Game Boy one. So let's have a look at this in a bit more depth. So if we power on without a card in, we'll get a warning telling us SD card error, initialization failure. Without an SD card in, you won't get past this section. So let's power down and pop a card in. And now with an SD card inserted, let's power on. And when you first power on, it's going to go to generic mode. That's absolutely fine, that's what it's set up as. If we look at generic mode to start with, now remember these settings. We've got Acorn, Atari, Amstrad, Commodore, VIC, Mattel Aquarius, MSX, Auric, Atmos, SVI, Tandy and Dragon, TI-99, VTech Laser, ZX80, ZX81 and ZX Spectrum, and then we're back to the beginning. I've got a ZX Spectrum SD card in, and it's changed straight away. Leading edge, everything here is off, baud is A, so it has changed the settings. And now if I wanted to, if I'd done a program, I can go in and I can record straight onto the SD card. However, if I want to load something, then I go to Files, it gives me my listing. I can go up and down the listing. Once I've got to the ones I want, go in and see the files. Now I know it can play tap files, and I select it. I can actually hear a change as this is running and processing, and it's looking at the directory structure, and because the amount of stuff on it, it takes a little bit of time. So once you've got to what you want, we'll just choose something at random. These are all zip files, so they won't play. Again, I can hear a change in tone, so I know it's doing something. And by default, it's now scrolling the first one. And then when we're ready, we just hit the file, and now it will load it fully into the memory on the card, ready for playback. Once we're ready, we can just hit play. This will take a few seconds, the screen will change, and yeah, Sinclair tells us all the information, and it's currently paused, and there we go. Anybody that's ever worked with a Spectrum knows that that's a screen that's loading. And there we are, it's completed. Now, yeah, you don't actually have to have the audio on. If we kick out, I think we need to wait for it to finish loading back. And the speed of this is all down to how much is on your memory card. We do have settings here. We can switch everything off and you can play it again without that. And there you can see it's now playing away, no noise whatsoever, so not a problem. We can also abort and go back out. But that in a nutshell is what this does. It allows you to use this one device to cover so many different systems instead of running around trying to find different devices because you've put it somewhere and you've dug a different machine out. You just need the one. So let's head back to the main menu and we'll look at some of the settings there. So referencing back to the manual and looking at what we have here, we know already that this is where we go to select the different systems we're going to use. This is the baud and sets the baud rate that we use, automatic or manual. This section here, which says edge, this determines how the system reacts to the polarity of the save signal, whether it's triggered by the rising or the falling edge. And if both are highlighted, then it reacts every half pulse. This section here is how pausing and progression of both playback and recording are handled by the unit. This is tape motor control, this is manual control, and then off. Function here is whether it's PAL or NTSC, because different clock speeds will affect how the system actually operates. We've got the sound, as you're already aware. This is the menu sounds, that's the playback sounds, and that's both off. Here this determines the signal playback, because some machines need normal signal, others need it inverted. And the final section, this determines what happens with an MSX after a ROM image is loaded, whether it resets it or not. This is the files for selecting what you want to load, and this selects the directory for save. So it's a really neat little unit and it works very, very well. There are so many different systems this could potentially work with. It's unbelievable. And I do believe in the manual, let me see if I can find it, and here it is. You can even see they're showing an Apple II. And this is under the generic operation, which is the mode we're in here, and starts on page 103 of the current manual that I have. It's a very versatile system and it should cover most of the systems I actually use. So why do I need these others? Let me pop all this away and let's see it actually load something. I have the trusty Commodore 64 dug out. I've got an SVI CAS plugged into it. I'm using the cable that came with it that I bought specifically for Commodore, and I've marked it ear and mic so I know which is which. So first things first, let's get a live system. There we go. I'm going to do the good old load command, and now it's waiting for play on tape. So change this from generic to Commodore 64. Select the file. And I found this little gem, first listed program on this, and it's Elmwood Computers A-Team. If you've not seen this before, boy, are you in for a treat. This isn't very big at all. So it's found it, or it's found something. There we go. And you can see how far through we already are. says it's paused because it's using the remote function. Now it's playing and it continues. And look how quick that's loading. Anybody that's used a Commodore 64 before and has loaded from tape knows there's no way it loads that quickly. So this has to be a game of the highest caliber. And wow, we are finished. And it hasn't even run itself. Now if we do a list command here, we should find that it just says that. And that's basically what's going to run the machine code. So if we run it, tell me what's wrong with this intro. The A-Team with the Star Wars theme? This has to be seen to be believed. Oh yeah, oh, and we're dead already, yep. The A-Team caught me, apparently. So, yeah, it's about as playable as running through foot-thick mud. Oh, I'm shooting them. Ah! And yeah, let's just stop right there. There is no way this is a licensed game. I mean, come on, really? So that's how easy the SVI CAS is to use. It automatically has the level set. There's no playing around with the volume control or tone or anything like that. It just works. I decide I don't want to play that, I can abort, and I can come out and choose something else. It's that simple. So at the end of the day, would I actually recommend the SVI CAS to people? I would. If you don't mind going for the standard cassette loading method, this is absolutely superb. It covers so many systems and it's configurable for even more. It's not expensive. Yes, it does come from Australia if you're over at this part of the world. However, I've not found an issue with shipping times. They've always been fast, and Duncan has been superb at getting this stuff to me. So I really cannot complain at all. So something definitely to consider adding, because as I said, it does make a number of these things fairly redundant. So thank you for watching. Consider liking and subscribing, especially if you found this useful. And I'll see you on the next Retro Crazy.